everybody. We are back here live at San Jose State University for the Men's Volleyball Championship, the INC Continental Unity Games. I'm Julianne Docena.
And I'm Kit Maglunog.
So we are actually just now in the beginning of the second set where the West Coast actually won the first set and are now leading 2-1.
All right, Trevor, going back to the game, Trevor Del Rosario back to serve. And the middle finds the floor, and that was number 23, Edrel Hernandez, finding the floor. And again, that offense was so quick. Why is it important to run different types of offenses?
Well, you know, as we were mentioning earlier, when you're playing in a men's game, the block is very important. And to throw off that block to make sure you don't get shut down every single time, it's very important to run a quicker offense so that you have a better chance of actually having the kill.
Absolutely. So again, a miscommunication there by the Gerald and Lex from the West Coast. And a miss serve by Patrick Plamenko from Canada. But again, it is only 3-3 here, and we still have tons of volleyball left in this men's finals at the Continental Unity Games live from San Jose State. And again, that's what we talked about, a quick offense instead of these high balls. Again, we have different tempos and paces and speeds and all these different types of offense that makes up, I guess, what makes up volleyball.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, I can't help but notice that a lot of the hits from the Canada team are actually going long. So could you tell me what causes that and why is it happening that way?
Well, a lot of the hits go long is we're using a ball that's a little bit heavier than what we're used to in America. If you play for the organization of USA Volleyball, the ball is a little lighter, a little bit more bouncier. In the case for the international volleyball, which is these yellow Mikasa balls, they're a little bit heavier. So it's very easy to hit the ball to flatter than you want, which doesn't allow the player to get on top of the ball, just like that. Because the ball is a little heavier, players are not able to get on top of the ball quick enough, which causes the ball to go down.
Absolutely. And you know, we're just getting some information in regarding some players from the Canada team. It seems that Matt Florento got injured 2 months ago and tore a muscle on his calf.
Well, I'm glad that he is back here because, again, that was a quick recovery because, again, a calf injury isn't something that's very easy to overcome. So here, participating in the Unity Games is such an awesome opportunity for him to be a part of.
Absolutely. And also we're seeing that Edrel Hernandez had knee surgery a year ago when they qualified for this Unity Games.
Oh, and he's still up there, actually on the floor.
Yes, and he is jumping.
Actually on the floor, making a statement here during this match.
Yes, and you know, I do see a knee brace, but I don't see either of these players. It's not obvious that they were injured previously. It looks like they're just hanging in there with the rest of everybody else.
So speaking of qualifying for for these Continental Unity Games, so how were all of these teams formed?
Oh, so it actually, from my understanding, is that it's a very systemic way of choosing. To our knowledge, how it works is that they actually have tournaments between their congregations first, and then they go on to a bigger level and an even bigger area to create the different regions. So from my understanding, at least from Las Vegas, where I'm currently from, they did have a tournament where the local congregations played against each other, and we did cover that previously as well. And then from then on, they went against a bigger region and then a bigger region to create these teams right here that we're seeing.
And we see the momentum shift here, causing the West to call a timeout where Canada leads 8-5 in the finals, and they are just not out of it yet.
Absolutely, and you know, it is a very interesting game. We are hearing a lot of cheering from the Canada team fans and a little not so much from the West Coast fans. You know, I hope that they're not already losing their hope, and hopefully that we can continue to see the electrifying energy in the gym that we were seeing earlier.
So what do you think that the West Coast calling a timeout so early in the set, what do you think are the conversations are happening in that huddle?
You know, if it were me, I would be telling, or at least play their own game and not necessarily play the game that the other team is playing. It's very important in volleyball to play the way your team is used to playing and not to match the other team's energy and their chemistry and the way and the speed of their game.
I absolutely agree, and we are here, and again, a lot of miscommunications here from the West Coast team, and I believe that I think what's going on in the West Coast is from the body language. What I'm noticing here from the sideline is that they're asking for a lot of calls that they're not getting. So they're worried about referees making the call instead of themselves making the play themselves. Absolutely. So again, another block from Canada, which extends their lead 10-5. And this is such an exciting turnout here in these men's finals.
Absolutely. And you know, earlier we were talking about block coverage, and in this case they were blocking all short. So how important is it to have someone over in the farther corners of the court when they're being blocked?
It's very important because the likelihood of getting blocked in the men's game is so likely that you have to be ready for the ball to come down back on your side. Again, a substitution change is made. I believe this is the first change that we've seen from the West Coast. Coming in for the West Coast is number 8, Adrian Castillo.
Absolutely. And a serve from the Canada team, set to the outside to number 11. And a kill by Kyle Acuna.
Way to bounce back from Kyle, because the last time he got set, he did get stuffed. And again, it's important as a setter to trust your hitters, that just because your player got blocked doesn't mean that hey, don't set the guy anymore.
Absolutely. Right? And you know, sometimes it's actually best to set the person who just got blocked. Sometimes it actually will boost the team's momentum because they can see that they can come back from anything.
Out of system set here from Canada. A little low pass and a tip from Trevor going to the outside. Carl with the swing down the line and in from Carl. And we are seeing some great Canadian volleyball here in the second set, while Canada leads 12-6. Now Carl is now out of the front row and is now in the back row. Now, Julianne, can you explain the rules of the terminology of back row players and front row players?
Yes, well, actually that has to do with where they are in their service rotation. So the 3 in the front row, per se, are the ones who will be playing offensively mostly as far as hitting goes. If you're a back row player, that means you are in the positions in the back row that are behind the 10-foot line, and you cannot hit in front of the 10-foot line if you plan on attacking the ball.
Right, so it's very important to absolutely know where a player is on the court. It's not like they have labels on their shirt saying, I'm a back row player, I'm a front row player. Actually, teams are very deceptive in trying to hide their players, whether, is this player in the front row, is this player in the back row? But it comes out once you know the game of volleyball or you're in transition, because they do transition to their respective rows.
Absolutely, and like what we mentioned earlier, they don't have to necessarily stand in that specific position. They just have to make sure they are between the players that are before and after them in that service rotation. So like you said, it can be very deceptive, and sometimes that's a great strategy to have to throw off the other team.
Right, a tight pass saved by the setter, and a tooled block opportunity from Canada.
And that was number 3, Patrick Plamenko, with the kill on the Canada team.
The middles again going back to serve, where the liberos are not allowed to serve in the international rules set.
Yes.
Out of system pass, goes to the outside and finds the floor. I think Trevor was going for a hard attack, but again, I think he accidentally missed all his way, so point goes to the west side, and the score is now 9-13.
Yes, and you can see that they are having fun out there because even with that error that ended up being a kill, he still just laughed about it and is having fun out there.
In-system pass, which goes for the in-system set and kill by Edro Hernandez, who we mentioned, who had knee surgery at 1 year ago, qualifying for these Unity games.
Yes, and having been injured as a volleyball player, it is not easy to be able just to watch and play. So it's amazing that they were able to go ahead and make sure that they were fully healed to be able to participate in this tournament.
Absolutely, keeping the momentum for Canada with the ace liberos that, again, extending their lead 15-9. Canada go back to serve, back to the libero, out of system pass, going dug up by Carl DeRosa. Goes to the outside again, kept alive by Canada again, and an in-system set. Let's see what they do. They go to the outside, lefty attack, kept alive, going back to the outside with a little tip dink, and again free ball opportunity for the Canadians. Great volleyball we're seeing here. Again, another free ball opportunity, going back to the middle and not finding a touch or going wide. So point West Coast.
Yes.
Communication from both sides is very key in these types of matches because it is so chaotic,
Absolutely.
So knowing who's going to get the ball, knowing who's going to set, knowing who's going to hit, where to hit it to are very key components to this game.
Absolutely, and we just had a missed serve here on the West Coast side by Trevor Del Rosario, and now the Canada team is serving.
Patrick Flamenco is back to serve. Again, in-system pass and a block. Just missed the coverage. Another timeout is called by the West Coast. The West Coast is really feeling the pressure.
Absolutely. And that is their second timeout for the set already, and the score is 17-10. In my opinion, that's a little early to have a second timeout, but if they need it to increase their momentum, I guess it is necessary.
Right. So now that regarding that last play. So Julianne, explain to me how important is it for blockers to stay on their blocking assignment?
It is absolutely important for blockers to be where they're supposed to be at the very right time. Because if they're there, then you like what we just witnessed, they do get that stuff block. It goes straight down. It's difficult to pick up back up. And, the crowd goes wild. The momentum gets picked up. It's an amazing thing to witness.
Absolutely. So, again, if blockers are able to stay on their assignments, their blocking assignments, with the offenses getting more complex with the quicks and the go balls to the outside, we're going up, high, low, tight, fast. It's very important to find out and stay with your man.
Absolutely.
Patrick Flamenco back to serve out of this timeout. In-system pass by Trevor. And Adrian with a kill coming off the bench from earlier, getting that kill out of the timeout. So again, I believe that a lot of the offense from the West Coast was going to the outside, which in volleyball, the outside is the left side, which is also your strong side. Lex David decided to go set the back set, go to the weak side, and I believe that it's always good to mix up your sets. Again, seeing Canada here in this last play, they also went to that right side or weak side, thus scoring that point. So it's very good to have a full command of offense.
Absolutely. And, going back to the block, by being able to set all three hitters, you're actually keeping the blockers on their toes more during the game.
A touch was called by the refs, which causes the point to go to the West Coast, giving the kill to Gino Alavia. If that block didn't happen, again, it would have been a little bit outside, so that's why it's called a tool block.
Yes,
Using the
absolutely.
blocker's hands to score a point. Canada with an in-system pass to the 3 position, keeping it in play, going to the outside like we mentioned, and just a bit outside. Kyle Acuna just missing wide against a big Canadian wall.
Yes, and you know, it's not to judge, but it is something to note that some of the players are actually a little bit shorter than what you're used to seeing as far as professional sports goes. So what can you say, Kit, that they have to work on more to lessen the advantage of the taller players over them?
I believe that it's just working a little harder. You know, you don't want height. Obviously, height is a factor in the game of volleyball, but you don't want it to be the only thing that's affecting your skill for the game of volleyball. So if, as a hitter, you can hang with these bigger, taller players, then really what it comes down to is scoring when you need to score, and that's what we just saw there by Carl De La Rosa, getting that tool kill, scoring the 20th point to Canada, extending the lead 20-13 in this second set.
Absolutely.
Float serve, controlled in system, going to the outside, and a block. And it's Trevor. I think it's Trevor's 4th tool block of the game.
It is, and you know, a lot of people think that that's an accidental thing, but sometimes it actually is very intentional.
It is a very intentional play. Me as a short hitter, I used a lot of blocks because I can't go over the top so often. So again, it's always good to use the block. And just thrown outside, showing a little bit of frustration because he did have an open net, but again, Canada has the momentum in the second set, 21-14 here in set 2, where Angelo Bruno is back to serve, which causes Edriel, the big middle, to go back to the front row. Out of system pass. And another tool block by Trevor. Again, that's his go-to move. I hope Canada can pick up on that line shot and try to shut him down. Again, I think he's unstoppable when the set goes to Trevor.
You know, I can't help but notice, but a lot of the times when he's using the tool, it's actually going to the inside of their hands from one player and then going out. It's like ricocheting out. So, you know, what is something that a blocker can do to prevent that from happening?
Again, I think eye work and vision is very important to a blocker's ability to block. It's very important to notice the kind of little things that hitters do, you know, whether they're going line, going angle, and making sure to read and execute what the hitter's doing and using your arms to redirect where the ball goes. 2 aces by the West Coast causes Canada to call a timeout. Again, Canada still has the lead 17-21 here in this second set of the Continental Unity Games men's final.
Yes, if you're just now joining us, West Coast has trailed behind the Canada team 17-21, where they won the first set, and we are now in the second set. It's been a very interesting game with a very wild crowd, and it is just a great time here in San Jose.
So now, what do you think the coach was saying to this huddle after those 2 aces?
On the Canada side, after those 2 aces, what I would think he would say is just to make sure to, you know, settle down, focus on getting that one pass so that you can convert that play to offense.
Absolutely. So hopefully they stick to that game plan and execute this and get this in-system pass. So I just want to see if they can execute, because again, coming down to the final stages of this set is very important to keep your intensity alive. And we have an out-of-system pass going to the back row. It kept alive by Lex David. And oh no!
Yes, that was a touch.
And a kill out of the back row. It was going out, but I think Carl De La Rosa knew it was going out and accidentally touched it. So again, the mental focus in the final stages is so key, as I mentioned before.
Absolutely. And we talked a lot about, as we just witnessed now, that they actually, some of them were calling that one out, and someone actually did pick it up or tried to pick it up, and it was not successful. So a lot of trust goes into volleyball as well, and it's very important to trust each other, to listen for that call, to make sure that you're on the same page as your teammates on the court.
And another out serve touched by Canada. And Canada didn't fall for it the third time. Fool me once, fool me twice, not the third time. Canada learned their lesson and going into the lead 22-19 here in this second set. Canada with the float serve, kept in system, going to the middle, timed miscommunication by Lex and Gerald, who whips their lead, going 23-19.
Jump float.
Oh man, nerves of steel here. Going with the two nailed passes, miscommunication, free ball opportunity for Canada. Goes to the outside, kept alive by Scotty, tipped over by Lex. Going to the middle, thrown, going to the outside. Oh, kept alive. There you go. Out of system play coming for Canada. Free ball opportunity for the West Coast. Running three players to the outside. Adrian with the attack, kept alive. Out of system set. And I believe no touch by the West Coast. Canada asking for a touch, but the play goes on. Point West Coast. The West entering the 20th digit, or 20, I guess the 20th.
20s.
Yeah, in the 20s. Yeah, welcome to the 20s, West Coast.
Yes, and we have a substitution happening here between Gerald Jubilato and number 5.
Tristan De Mesa. Tristan De Mesa coming in as a middle. Trevor Del Rosario coming back to serve. Float and an out. Missed by a couple of feet. Giving set point to our friends from up north, the Canadians.
Yes, and it is very important at this point in the game to make your serves.
Speaking of making your serves, another ace ends the set, tying up the games 25-20. Team Canada ties this matchup 1-1.
Absolutely, and it is a crazy crowd in here today. Everybody is up on their feet cheering, and the teams are now switching sides of their court.
Yeah, seeing the way they played volleyball from the very first set, you would think the West Coast had the momentum, but Canada turned it around. They committed to their plays and now are back in this match.
Absolutely, and going back to what the coaches said they would focus on, the Canada coaches actually said they were going to limit their errors, and I think they did just that between the first set and the second set.
Absolutely, you are correct on that point. So hopefully the West Coast can dig deep the way to find their way back into this match. The match is tied 1-1. The match is big. Now it goes from a best 3 out of 5 to a best of 2 out of 3.
Exactly, and that's actually how they qualified to get into championships, was to play the best of 3. So it's really like we're starting over.
Right. So again, what do you think Canada is talking about now to keep the lead?
I think that, they're really going to say they need to focus on that defense, because the West Coast team is changing up their offense from play to play, and they're able to keep things in system, and they're very consistent in making sure that ball gets over that net or into the block and uses that tool. So I think they're going to on that defense, trust each other a little bit more. Listen for that call from your teammates to see where that ball is going, if it's going in or out. That way they can be a little more efficient in playing their defense.
Right, and going back just away from the volleyball for a second, and you mentioned you grew up here. Your volleyball career was here in the, I guess, the Bay Area. Now, where are you living now?
I'm actually living in Las Vegas, Nevada right now. So I'm from the desert just like you. It's very, very hot over there, so it's a nice getaway here to chill out a little bit.
Absolutely. Now what, if you're visiting the Bay Area, what would you say is your favorite spot to go to, like maybe to hang out with friends or maybe to get a lunch or a dinner?
Oh my goodness, there is so much good food all throughout the Bay Area, whether you're in the North Bay, the South Bay, the Peninsula, the East Bay, even inland. There is so much to do. But if I had to choose where I would bring my friends, I would actually bring them to By Right Creamery. I love their ice cream. They make small pints of ice cream. It's very fresh, very good. They also use local coffee and local ingredients in their ice cream, and my favorite ice cream is coffee ice cream, which is why I mentioned that. So that's one thing, but like I said, there's so much you can do. There's a lot of lookout points so you can see beautiful views. There's a lot to do out here.
It is a great environment, a perfect setting for these Continental Unity Games held here in the Bay Area, where it is not too hot and not too cold. It is just right here at San Jose State University. And now we are starting back up set number 3, best 2 out of 3 match. Canada, West Coast, 1 set apiece. Canada with the serve. Set goes to the middle, and a double contact by Tristan de Mesa. Now, technically, he didn't get the ball over the net, but the refs would call a double contact because since the ball was attacked and he touched it after the net, it is a double contact.
Yes, that's true. Another serve to the libero. And Trevor with that tool once again.
Finding his way around the block is key for Trevor Del Rosario.
Absolutely. So if you're just now joining us, it is 1-1 here in the third set.
And again, miss opportunity by Lex David. Now again, if you are just tuning in, we are in the third set at San Jose State University at the Continental Unity Games Men's Volleyball Finals. And an out of rotation call. Just these little ticky-tack errors are building up for these West and is not helping them with their momentum.
Yes, and to call an out of rotation, what that actually means is they crossed over another player in the service rotation a little too early. So Kit, when are they allowed to actually move into that transition?
So you have to be in your legal rotations. You have to be in your legal rotations before the ball is served. Once the ball is served, or contacted, then players can move around on the court wherever they may please to go, but also keeping in front row and the back row rules. There are certain things that front row players can do that back row players can't. A huge block by Tristan de Mesa, which in my connection to Tristan de Mesa, I used to go bowling with Tristan's parents. So
that's amazing. What a small world.
It is this volleyball world is a very small world indeed.
Yes, and we don't mean that as in there's only a few players playing. It's actually a lot of people playing, and because this volleyball world is so close to each other, we actually get to know a lot of these people.
Right. Talking to Lex David, we just got information that Lex David, the setter, received a kidney from his father, Uncle Stan, which is my ninong.
Wow.
So, finished from his father, Uncle Stan, a few years ago, and is able to overcome complications in order to keep playing volleyball. So we are so glad that here playing even with kidney complications, and he is absolutely killing it out here on the volleyball court.
And he is actually the setter for the team, and he just had that one assist with that great hit from the outside from number
from Kyle Acuna.
From Kyle Acuna, who is, and they're actually the captains of this team, both Kyle Acuna and Lex David.
So we got the captain-to-captain connection there. CCC,
Absolutely.
captain-to-captain connection.
There you go, CCC. That's some nice alliteration.
Bad toss by Trevor, but you have to serve it over no matter how bad the toss is. Kept alive by Lex David. And into the net is Trevor. Canada trails 4-5 in this third set. Again, the energy here in the arena is so electric. Fans from all over the continental North America, Canada, East Coast, West Coast, even the Pacific Islands took the time to fly and be here to experience the games. And we have a huge transition attack by Carl De La Rosa from Canada.
Oh, yes. And you know, between Canada and America, there are actually a lot of rivalries in other sports like hockey and lacrosse. And being from Vegas, I am now a huge ice hockey fan with a new professional hockey team there, the Vegas Golden Knights of the NHL. So have you ever noticed, Kit, any kind of rivalry between Canada and the USA?
Absolutely. There is a huge rivalry between our two nations, our two bordering nations. In recently, the past Olympic Games, it's always down to the women's finals in women's hockey, whether if it's the USA versus the women's, and also the men's hockey and men's USA hockey and Canada.
Absolutely, and you know, this might not be ice hockey, but it's looking a little bit like the Olympics with the rivalry going on between the Canada team and the USA team. But even with that, this crowd is still so united and cheering on these teams.
It is so fun to see the camaraderie with these players make, and a 1-over kill. A smart play by Canada, going over on one, finding that open court in transition.
Absolutely, and you know, it's so important to make sure that you're placing the ball properly when you're out of system and you need to have an emergency contact like that. It is great to make sure that you know where the open court is.
So why is it now that first overplay worked on that point, which ended up scoring a point, while other first overplays or one overplays or two overplays don't work so often?
Yes, well, you know, it depends on where the defenses are positioning themselves. In that case, there was a wide open spot over in that left back side of the court, which they obviously saw and used to their own advantage. So the West Coast seems to be spreading out a little bit more than we saw earlier, and that's why they were able to go ahead and get that point.
And a mishandled ball by Canada, forcing the ball out. West Coast ties this set up 7-7 in this third set. All right, we have a few questions being asked by Trevor Del Rosario to the ref, but Kyle Acuna, or actually it is Danred Bakir back to serve. Out of system pass by Canada. Swing from 15 feet off the net is called. And I thought he was over, but no call from the refs. In system, out of system set, blocked back, covered, goes back to the outside. Call goes over the top and finds the court. Canada takes the lead over again, 8-7 in the final.
Yes, and you know, as we were mentioning earlier, trust and communication is very important in volleyball, especially if a hitter is going to hit in the seams between two defensive players.
Now, what is the seam, you may ask?
Yes, the seam is actually the space between two defensive players when they're getting ready for that attack from the other side. So when there's that empty space, they have to know who is going to be getting that ball. Otherwise, what we just witnessed will actually happen. And you know,
and a kill by Patrick Flamenco. I heard that the Canada team was asking for the net, but the reason why there was no net call is because you can actually touch the net outside of the antenna. So knowing the rules, just because someone touches the net doesn't make it a violation. You have to touch it out of the outside of the antenna for it not to be. And I think Kyle was outside of the net when he did touch that the net.
He did. He actually got the bottom tape of the net on the outside of the antenna, but you could hear the whole crowd saying net. And so that is why that was not given to them at that point.
Now again, with another early timeout by the West Coast, in my opinion, this is a little bit too early. Down, you had a 7-7. You were at 7-7 at one point, and you only lose 2 points and a timeout before you even reach the teens. But you know what? Hopefully that their strategy is. They're coming up with their strategies, they're talking about it, and they can bounce back from this first ball. So we are looking to seeing what they can do out of this first ball opportunity.
Yes, absolutely.
Carl De La Rosa with the float, kept in system, going back to the outside, and a tool. It is so important to get that first ball side out, especially after a timeout. Because that's the time where you can talk about what plays you're going to run, who's going to be served, and they're trying to figure out who's served. And I think they figured out it is Kyle Acuna going back to serve. If you notice, both teams have their setters in the front row, which both teams have only 2 option hitters. And it does get past Gino Alavia. If you saw that in slow motion, Gino's chin and head was leaning backwards, so when the ball ricocheted off of his hands, it went over on his side.
Yes.
It's important to keep your heads and shoulders facing forward because you can keep that momentum on your side. And another missed dump opportunity. Now, why is it called a dump, a setter dump, Julia?
It's called a setter dump because of how it sounds, basically. But when a setter is unable to set a ball, set a pass, they just dump it on the other side of the court. Sometimes it's the only option that they have, and sometimes it's a smart option to throw off the other team and get past their defense and their blocks.
Right, so it's not really, you can't really describe it as a kill. It's not a free ball, it's not a tip, it's a setter dump.
Yep, exactly.
Again, we are in transition of this play, and Trevor just hitting the ball flat, causing it to go outside. Canada extends their lead 12-8 here in this third set.
Yes, and I can see them communicating on the court. Trevor is asking for that set to be a little bit higher and a little bit further out, which means closer to that sideline over on his left side of the court.
And an ace serve by Angelo Bruno, extending their lead 13-8. Again, hopefully the West can regroup and from this point deficit, seeing what they can do out of this first ball. Another deep serve, just a bit outside. Another opportunity. Tristan De Mesa goes in for the libero, and Gino Alavia back to serve.
And a nice serve.
Overpass, kept alive. Over to Trevor.
It's very important to be ready for that overpass off of the serve.
Sets the wrong player, kept alive, going to Flamenco, going to the line, kept alive by the West. Again, nice digging on both sides. Covered block, going back to the outside. And taking advantage of the libero not being in the court. So, like what we mentioned, the libero is not allowed to serve, which causes the middle to have to make a defensive play, which they're not used to. So why is it so difficult for middles to make good plays on the ball as of setting and passing? So why is it so difficult for middles to make those plays?
Well, in reality, a middle is, the real term is a middle blocker. So the actual real job is to block and, of course, also hit. But, also on the other side of that, their height causes a disadvantage for them as a defensive player because I mean, it's like only a split second, but it does take them longer to move down towards the floor to get those balls.
Right. Middles are usually, in the sport of volleyball, if you're playing middle, you get pigeonholed into just playing middle. So the skills, your skill set of passing and setting, you're not getting as many reps as other players. And we see a short roll shot from Patrick Klemenko.
And you know, we have not seen many of those yet so far through this game. So that's like what we were talking about earlier, where they change up their offense. It does throw off the other team's defense, and it is a successful kill in that point.
All right, 15-10 here in this third set. Canada leads the West Coast. Patrick Klemenko back to serve, floater, perfect pass out of the middle. Goes to Trevor out of the back, kept alive by Patrick, goes to the outside. Kept alive with a block, and going back to Carl. Trevor says no twice. Kept alive here, out of system. Ooh, and that was a double contact by Canada again. No control. All right, so Trevor Del Rosario back to serve here. Down 11-15. Out of system pass. Thrown up, perfect set, and Carl De La Rosa finds the floor through the block, tooling the block, which has been an effective play so far on both sides of the net.
Absolutely, it is a great thing to see that, you know, this is actually a very high level of men's volleyball here in this gym today. They're using all of the tactics that they can possibly have in this game. Beautiful set.
And that's a perfect example of a tool, just throwing the ball into the block and sending that ball out of bounds off the blocker's hands. Yeah. Now Tristan de Mesa is going back to serve. Gino Alavia comes back in. Canada is in rotation 3, where all 3 hitters are still options for a set. Out of system pass goes to the Carl, the outside. Kept alive by Trevor, goes outside, and just outside of the antenna. And by the way, Julianne, can you explain the rules of why these antennas are located on the net?
Yes, the antennas are actually basically like your sidelines, but up higher to make sure that you are playing within the court regulations and to make sure that the advantage on both sides of the team is even.
And a huge stuff block by Bruno and De La Rosa from Canada, and the Canadian fans are letting them hear it. Big block by Canada. Up 18-12 here in this third set. Again, just like you were mentioning, it is the sidelines up in the air, so the ball must be travel through the antennas. It is not like tennis. Oh, kept alive here. Gino with this, covered by Lex David. Out of system pass, going back to Carl, taking a swing and into the net. Point West Coast 13-18. Like what I mentioned earlier, volleyball is one of the only net sports which incorporates an antenna. In sports such as tennis and ping pong, a player can actually go around the pole, around the net, and keep the ball in play from there.
Absolutely.
We have back here with the serve and a 3-ball miss time. An opportunity, tight set, one-handed set to the outside, kept alive. 3-ball opportunity here for the West Coast. Tight pass, goes to the outside. Kyle Acuna with the line kill over and around the block, shortening that lead for the West Coast, 14-18. So again, Canada is still in the lead by 4. The West Coast fans are getting back into it, cheering on their fans. And again, I think the referee has some words to say now to the captain, whatever it is. again, if you're just tuning in, my name is Kit Maglunog.
And I'm Julianne Docena, and we are reporting live from the San Jose State University, where the INC Continental Unity Games Men's Volleyball Championships are currently underway.
And a missed serve. What a wasted opportunity. You have a long rally and you work so hard to fight for the point, but it's so unfortunate to miss that serve from the next play. That is such a kind of a killer for your team.
Absolutely, and there is no good time to miss a serve in volleyball. Even if you're in the first few points of this game, it is essential to make those serves.
And another stuffed block. I think the West Coast are regretting that they used up their timeouts early in the game. Now they're out of timeouts.
Absolutely, and like what we were mentioning, we believe it's early only because now they don't have an opportunity to bring their team together to discuss a new strategy.
A jump spin serve by De La Rosa goes to the outside. Kyle mistimed it, but Toole off the block, finding the court for the West Coast. So hopefully these West Coast teams are clawing their way back into this match.
Yes, and just like what we saw in the very first set of the game, it is very possible for your momentum to actually shift one way or the other. The Canada team was actually behind and found a way to come back up in the first set, but was unable to get that set in the bag. However, they did come back in that second set, and so it is very possible for West Coast still to come back just now.
Absolutely. Just like we saw in the end of that second set, Canada is finding a hard time passing these first balls in the 20s. Trevor with the attack, and it falls down. Gino Alavia with the block, and the West Coast is finding their way. Now again, Canada is trying to slow down the momentum by calling the timeout.
And that is all of the timeouts left in this game. This is the last timeout in this set, sorry. This is the last timeout we will see in this set.
Right, so again, both coaches are regrouping. We are in the final stages of this set, which is a momentum set. Whoever wins this third set has the advantage going into the fourth set because, again, we're tied 1-1. You need 3 sets to win this match.
Absolutely. This game can still go any direction.
All right, so like what we said before, Canada has been having trouble finding a in-system pass in the 20s. So again, out of the timeouts, what I like to look for is what they can do out of the timeout. So let's see if they can get this perfect pass. There's a out-of-system pass to the outside and straight down. That makes a statement for both teams, especially for Canada, flexing the muscles afterwards, showing that he still has the heart.
Absolutely, and there was no block on that play. So Kit, can you reiterate how important it is for the blockers to be up there with their hitters?
It is such a crucial time. You cannot give these hitters who can hit hard an opportunity to swing at an open net. It's basically like throwing a rock into the ocean.
Yes.
It's more probable of you getting a kill.
Absolutely.
Great job by the West Coast getting that kill back. I believe that was Trevor Del Rosario with that kill. Again, both teams are in rotations where the setter's in the front row, so watch for the middle or the outside sets. The setter usually plays out of the right side, and pushing it through the block is Kyle De La Rosa. As you can say in basketball, he is on fire. And I believe the West Coast has called their third timeout.
Just to clarify, that was actually 2 timeouts now for the West Coast, whereas we originally believed that they had already called that second timeout. So this will be the last timeout we will see in this game.
Absolutely, good call, Julie Ann. So again, trying to slow down the Canadian train of momentum in this third set. What are the keys looking out of this ball right here, this first play?
No, it's all about defense at this point because we are seeing that they are getting a little less scrappy as they were playing earlier. So this first pass is so very important.
Again, both setters are in the front row, which gives the option an out of system. Trevor has to go chase that down and finds a way to score from that outside set, celebrating. And again, the ball has to travel between the two antennas, and that's exactly what he did. Therefore, that was a great play by Trevor.
Absolutely.
Now Lex is back to serve. I believe he missed a couple of his serves. Hopefully I didn't just jinx him just now. And he keeps that ball in, going to the right side. Oh, and just finding a touch off of Lex David. Canada extending their lead 23-19 in this third set. Only 2 more points. Again, it must feel that Canada is going to find that these last 2 points are going to be very hard to score. Out assisted pass from the West. Kept alive, but not enough.
Yeah, so that's actually what we call a shank in volleyball. It's when they're not necessarily prepared properly for that kill or for that hit or the ball that's coming towards them, and they end up making the ball go way out of the court and their teammates are unable to go get it.
Right, Trevor Del Rosario with that float serve. Out of system pass by Canada, going to the outside. Carl keeping it alive. Free ball opportunity for the West. You gotta play those close balls, and that was a great play by Scott. Keeping it alive here, going to the right side. Tip over, kept alive by Scott. And miscommunication set to the outside. Carl swings, dug up by Trevor. Kyle again in transition. Going a little bit too early, and he is going down with the ankle injury. Coming down wrong.
It may be that he could be cramping. It is unclear, but he is down at the moment. Seems that he is getting up. And he is on his feet. Number 11, Kyle Acuna.
Stepping in for Kyle is Adrian Castillo. Adrian came in as an opposite earlier in the match, but coming in as an outside hitter now for Kyle for this unfortunate injury.
Yes, and hopefully he can come back so we can see this captain play for their team. But either way, these players, these athletes are doing very, very well.
Canada now has set point in this set. A rotation check by Canada, making sure that they have the right server. Again, it is very important to not make these silly mistakes because momentum is such a valuable thing in the sport of volleyball.
Exactly.
In-system pass by Adrian. And Tristan de Mesa keeping the West alive with that back one set. So Tristan de Mesa now back to serve.
Yes, and it is the set point here in the third set of the Men's Volleyball Championships of the INC Continental Unity Games.
And finding the court again, West Coast. It is very tough for Canada to get a good in-system pass when they are in the 20s.
Yes.
Hopefully this gives it, the West can notice that and gives them a chance to still be in this game. Again, the West Coast is just not out of it yet. It is over until the last whistle blows or the final ball drops.
Absolutely. The score is 24-22 with Canada in the lead, and West Coast is serving with a float serve.
Again, the Canadians having trouble. Still having trouble. Now, I did get clarification from the referees earlier regarding the timeouts. Regarding the timeouts, because we are using the international skills rule books, there is a technical timeout when a team scores 8 points and when a team scores 16 points. So in actuality, we can have up to 6 timeouts in one game, which is very important for each team to kind of regroup, to kind of refocus their teams to make sure that they are still running the plays that they're running for them to be successful.
That's very good. Thank you so much for that clarification.
Tristan de Mesa back there to serve again. Can Canada find a way to get this in-system pass? Float serve, out of system pass by Canada. Tip over and alive, but an under violation. Sending another set into overtime. Again, what is overtime, Julianne?
Wow, every set goes up to 25 points except for that fifth set. So right now we are in the third set and the score is 24-24. They do have to win by 2 points. So we are now in what is considered overtime in the sport of volleyball.
Out of system pass kept alive. Carl De La Rosa keeps it alive. Opportunity for the West. Goes to the middle. Getting past the block. Just past the block. Not finding a touch. West Coast finding a touch. Canadians have another set point here in this third set.
Absolutely. The crowd is going absolutely wild. So many people are on their feet cheering these teams on.
Out of system pass by West. Kept alive by the libero. Called De Rosa. Gets a swing. Kept alive by Lex David. Swinging is Adrian. And final court is Adrian. So excited is Adrian getting that kill. Stepping in for the injured Kyle Acuna and making a difference in the play. And the crowd is electric here at San Jose State University in the men's final.
Absolutely. Kit, can you say a little bit about the differences between hitting on the opposite and the outsides?
Yes, your stronger hitters, usually systems are set up so that more of the outsides or the left side of the court hits the ball. So again, finding the touch there, Canada with their fifth set point. Can they convert? Can they convert? The West still has momentum. It looks like both crowds are cheering so hard. A lot of belief, a lot of hope, a lot of cheering is going on here. You can really feel the electricity and the energy in the gym.
This is so exciting. This is such a great game to watch.
Paul De La Rosa back to serve, float serve into, kept in alive in system. And just outside by Bakir. And it is now set for Canada wins the third set, 27-25. Now leading in this final 2-1.
Yes, this is a very intense game. You know, at first we weren't quite sure how it was gonna pan out, but Canada is holding their game, and the crowd is going crazy.
All right, so again, if you are just tuning in, you have just missed out on 3 great sets of volleyball. And now we are entering the 4th set where Canada is leading 2-1 in this best of 5 match.
Absolutely. If you're just now tuning in, you do not want to go away. This is the INC Continental Unity Games Men's Volleyball Championship. It is such an intense game. The energy in the gym is so exciting and it is so much fun.
And we will come back for this 4th set here from the men's finals of the Continental Unity Games. I'm Kit Maglunog.
I'm Julianne Dosena.
And we will see you after a short break.
Brothers and sisters, stay tuned after this finals game for INC Media Live on Facebook Live. At INC 50.
Second yes, bro. The medal. The gold.
Let's go, Marky! Let's go, Marky!
I felt the 6.
Hell no, look at the belly, man.
Good morning, bro.
And we are back live here at the Continental Union, where the fourth set is just starting. It is currently 0-0, and we are in the transition phase of volleyball. A double contact by Canada. And the West starts off with a point, 1-0 in this fourth set. My name is Kit Maglunog, bringing to you live coverage here at San Jose State University Activity. They're holding the men's finals at the Continental Unity Games. Net violation, Tristan De Mesa. Again, 2 errors, 2 early errors. Doesn't matter. Again, still a lot of volleyball being played. Out of system pass. Trevor keeps it alive. Short tip over. Goes to the outside. Flamenco. Stuffed block by Trevor Del Rosario. Again, he has such a long reach for him to just, it's so hard to just get it over the block. So, again, it's very difficult to find the court over Trevor's block. Trevor back to serve, however. West leads 2-1 here in this fourth set and finds the ace for Canada, extending it 3-1. And with me today is Julianne DeSena. What do you think so far about the electricity and the energy in this arena right now?
Oh, it is just so great to see everybody standing on their feet, cheering for these teams. And, it's just really exciting. And when the crowd has that kind of energy, it makes the game actually a lot more intense. The teams can feel it, even if they're not interacting with the crowd necessarily. I know they can feel it.
Right, you are. So now, West Coast just missing it. And I don't think Kyle Acuna is back, so I believe he is out for this fourth set. Adrian still stepping in on that right side, and a stuffed block by the Canadians. They said, you will not build a wall between U.S. and Canada, and it was the Canadian wall that prevailed.
Absolutely.
Now, Julianne, I know you have a lot of family back home. Who do you want to say hi to?
Oh.
For your family and friends watching on air and online.
Yes, well, I wouldn't be where I am today without my parents. And, my mom used to drive me to all of my volleyball tournaments and volleyball practices, clinics, camps, you name it, she was there. So shout out to Mom and Dad back in actually Gilbert, Arizona. So I live in Vegas, but they are in Gilbert, Arizona. And of course, also my grandma, who is here in the Bay Area, my number one supporters along there with my parents. So shout out to all 3 of you. How about you, Kit? Is there anyone you would like to give a shout out to?
Absolutely. I would love to give a shout out to my wife, Belle Maglunog. She is actually watching here today. So hi, Belle. She was here earlier watching the Unity Games, but actually had to go back home to Phoenix to go back to work. And I want to give a shout out to my 1.5-year-old daughter, Keluna. I'm sure she's watching somewhere, or I'll show her the film later. So hi, my family, and I want to give a shout out to Matt Gantala because he just texted me saying that, hey, you're on TV, and I'm glad that you're on here watching live here with us on EBC at the Continental Unity Games.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you continue to give us those comments, and we will shout you out if we can.
All right, Canada trails by 1. Fourth set. Out of system pass. Adrian with the swing. Kept in system by Canada. And over the top is is Carl De La Rosa from Canada.
Did you hear their cheer earlier? Canada? They're saying, Canada, Canada. What? What do you say? That's what they're saying. I was like, well, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Talking about.
I can't even watch this.
Oh, there, we're good, we're good. We're good.
And we are back. Sorry for the technical audio difficulty that we just had. Again, Canada with that huge kill out of the middle. Again, the strength of your middles really dictates the strength of your offense.
Absolutely.
And another kill. Another kill by Tristan de Mesa. Tristan de Mesa coming in as a sub and really dominating in this fourth set, making a statement for the West Coast team.
Yes. And you know, both players, like who he subbed in for, they're actually both very great athletes.
Oh, missed. Touched. And a net violation by Canada. Canada trailing 9-15. 6-point lead by West Coast. Trevor Del Rosario back to serve, taking his deep breath routine. Float serve, out of system pass, set out of the right side and over the top, but no touch from the West. Again, momentum, like what we've mentioned, is such a valuable thing here in volleyball.
Yes, it is.
The Canadian fans trying to rile up their players. In system pass, going to the middle. And save, kept alive. Oh, and a double contact mishandled by the West Coast. Again, like what I mentioned, it is very important to make sure that you keep your middles in the offense so that you can keep the pin hitters or the outside hitters having their blocks opened up. If the balls only went to the outsides and not to the middles, then again, the outsides would have a hard time finding the floor because everyone knows who the ball is going to.
Absolutely, and we just actually saw a missed hit by number 5 on the West Coast team. It seemed like it might have gone into the block, but I believe it did go into the net, and so it was not called as a block.
Float serve, low pass, sets to the outside. Adrian over, hits the ball. No touch. Canada clawing their way back into this set. Again, they do have the set advantage. Canada leads this match 2-1, down 12-16. Patrick Klemenko serving, goes to the outside. Adrian again, finding a way to score, going through the seams and off of Patrick Klemenko, and now extending their lead 17-12. Such an exciting match. If you are not here, you are missing out. But you know what? I'm so glad that you are watching with us here on EBC Live. And you are at the finals, and the energy is electric, and the crowd is wild, and the fans are crazy, and the volleyball is volleying.
Yes, it's very true. And right now we are watching the Men's Volleyball Championship, but make sure you stay tuned right here on Eagle News Live throughout the day while we watch all of the championships for the sports here.
Miscommunication on the defense by Canada, letting the ball drop. There was about 3 or 4 players around the ball, but no one seemed to stick a hand out and go for it. Again, that's why it's a miscommunication. Canada does have 3 hitters out of this rotation, so watch the ball going to the middle or going to Carl De La Rosa, but again, cannot control that serve. Very difficult for Canada as we get closer to the end of the set. Time and time again, we saw it in all 3 sets. Now we're seeing it in the 4th set that they're having trouble making that pass.
Absolutely, and like we've been mentioning throughout this game, that the first pass is so essential to converting the play to an offensive play.
Out of system, Lex keeps it alive, kept alive by Adrian. Going to the middle, outside and Carl kept alive, but a block net violation by the West, giving Canada another chance to make a run in hopefully, their final set. Substitution coming in. we have Ethan Albiento going in for Matt Florento. I believe they are in the opposite position. The opposite in volleyball is actually the right side player.
Yeah, so when you're running a 5-1 offense, which is basically having one setter designated throughout any position in their service rotation, there's only one setter, which gives you 5 hitters. The person who plays on the other side of the setter is called the opposite, and they will be hitting from the right side.
And there we go. Nice play, kept alive by Canada. Finding the court is Carl De La Rosa. Ethan Albiento serving. It kept in system to the middle. Gino kept alive, covered himself, going out to Ed. Roll shot, Dick. And a solo block by Carl De La Rosa. And judging by what Canada has done, they added in, instead of keeping that 5-1, they went to a modified 6-2.
Yes,
so bringing in, so their setter from before has actually turned into a hitter.
Yes.
And they brought in a setter, Ethan Albiento. So now, instead of having 2 options out of the front row, they have 3 options on the front row, and they switched Carl De La Rosa to the right side, making him use that block, or having that huge block to force West to have a timeout.
Absolutely. You know, we're seeing a lot of dynamic strategies on both sides of the court, and on the Canada side, we are seeing a lot of switching between their positions, and it is an amazing thing to see because they're doing great everywhere they go.
Right. It is very difficult in the sport of volleyball to hit, if you're an outside hitter, to play on the right side, vice versa, to be a middle, and then, or if you're a middle and then you have to set the ball again. It's very pigeonholed, but with the versatility of the Canadian players here is showing their grit and their willingness to be successful here. In-system pass by the West Coast, going back to Edrin and finding the court out of this timeout. So now, welcome to the 20s West Coast, 20-16 here in this 4th set in the men's finals. Adrian going back to serve, which causes Trevor Del Rosario to be in the front. So watch him getting a lot of sets and a lot of kills in these final points of this 4th set. Adrian with the jump serve here. In-system pass, low set kept alive. Adrian going to the outside and making that switch. Solo block by Carl De La Rosa, letting his teammates know that, you know, you don't have nothing on me, Trevor Del Rosario.
Very true. So, you know, Kit, earlier we were seeing a lot of tools coming from Trevor using the blockers on the Canada side, and now we're seeing a little bit of change in technicality in the blocks. Can you speak a little bit about how they changed that up so that instead of being tooled, they can go ahead and stuff them?
Right, so that first play, Carl De La Rosa is actually a pretty good blocker, but as a left side player, you don't actually see a lot of hits because, again, the plays go to the outside. Switching Carl to the right side in the front row is actually an advantage to Canada. If you notice, Carl did serve, so therefore he's in the back row, which now, again, Alex Martinez is back to the blocking, and he has been struggling finding a way to block Trevor all match long.
Yes, absolutely.
Again, the West Coast in rotation 6, where the setter has only 2 options. Tristan De Mesa and Trevor Rosario are their hitters. Tight pass going out to the outside. Kept alive by Canada. Trevor with the dig. Going back to Tristan. Blocked by Edrel Hernandez with a knee surgery just a year ago, and now blocking his way into this finals in this 4th set.
Absolutely. You know, the determination we're seeing from these athletes is so inspirational to see. They are not giving up on either side of the court. They are playing their hearts out right now.
In-system pass. Trevor with the set. Again, another block. It is a block party, and Martinez is excited to finally get a block against Trevor. The Canada is also now in the 20s, 20-21. Canada trails by 1 in this 4th set, and the crowd is into it.
Yes, and you know, like you were saying, Kit, momentum is a really important aspect here in volleyball, and I think Canada seems to be
Canada kept
gaining their
alive.
momentum.
Oh, double contact by Martinez. He was a little bit off balance and tried to hand set the ball, which caused him to lose control. So again, 22-20 here in this final match. Insistent pass going back to the right side. Martinez, who has been setting all match, gets the ball and makes that hitting error. Now again, what I wanted to let you guys know that Martinez was a setter for the entire match and now is hitting. It's hard for a person to be a setter the entire match, and all of a sudden being asked to be a hitter, again, your role has changed and it's a little bit more difficult as a setter to be a hitter in this match.
Yes, absolutely. And in the game of volleyball, it's not just about physical skill, it's also about your ability to change that mental mindset when you're switching positions. So like what Kit said, to go from being a setter to a hitter in the middle of a game, it is difficult, but both teams are doing very well. Marinas is still doing very well, so we will see if he will be able to continue to hit from the opposite.
All right, so again, Canada was in their huddle. They did call that timeout. Okay, guys, they probably said, hey, we need to get a pass. First ball side out of this timeout. Let's see what they do here in this set. Lex David with the serve. Out of system pass, overpass, kept alive again in transition, sets to the outside, and Flamenco with the set. Oh, 1 over. Now the West has an opportunity to score. Trevor with the tip, throws it in. Carl keeps it alive, not ready. Net violation by Tristan de Mesa. Arguing the refs, but the refs win that argument.
Yes, that was easily won by the referees right there.
Asking for a sub here. Again, there's a difference with the international sub rather than the high school or the domestic rules, that if a person comes in for a player, so for example, Ethan Albiento came in for number 9, Florento, and now he is not allowed back in the court. Another net violation by the West Coast, and Canada is fighting their way with every inch of effort back into this final set.
Yes, they are.
Goes to the middle, and Tristan de Mesa.
That was a very crucial hit from the West Coast team, because having 2 net violations in a row really will ruin your momentum if you are not able to come back from that. So that was a very great hit to have at this time in this game.
Yes, I agree. And mixing up that tempo, that set was actually a 2-ball. He was coming in for quicks. Another out-of-system pass from Canada here. Free ball opportunity for the West. Goes to the outside. Adrian, no, solo block. Finds the court, sending the match to 5. Again, we are in the 5th and final set of this men's volleyball finals here at the Continental Unity Games at San Jose State University. Again, if you don't know me already, my name is Kit Maglunod.
And I'm Julianne Docena.
And again, stay tuned for the final set here in this men's volleyball championship.
All right, bro. I got you, bro. They're being shown in the Philippines.
Brothers and sisters, one more set! Right after this final set, who will decide the champion, we will have INC Media Live right here! If you want a shirt, a pop socket, an exclusive 50 years in the West bag full of prizes, you need to be here after the game on INC Media.
What, you thought it was done? I was like, really? What do you want the rest of
And we are back live here at the final set of the Continental Unity Games of the men's finals. I'm Kit Maglunog.
And I'm Julianne Dosena, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please stay tuned as we continue this live coverage of the men's volleyball championship.
So again, just to recap, we are in the fifth set. The West Coast team took over the first set 26 to 24. Canada came back 25 to 20 and won the third set in overtime 27 to 5. And the West Coast came back with some huge plays 25-22 in that fourth set. Now we're heading into this final set of the men's volleyball finals of the Continental Unity Games here live from San Jose State University Activity Center here in San Jose, California.
Yes, and you know, we're seeing a lot of different things here in this volleyball game. Some very unimportant mistakes on both sides, untimely errors. However, we are also seeing a lot of very crucial plays from both sides of the court, and they are making this a very intense game.
Right, and what are some differences going into this final fifth set?
Well, a fifth set in volleyball is actually only up to 15 points. It is still a 2-point lead that is necessary to win the game. But they do switch sides midway through the set. So I believe that it's at 8 points. They will switch sides. You will see that on the court. And it's the first to 8.
Canada chose the serve. So again, back to serve is Alex Martinez, figuring out the lineup situations right now. Again, as we start and begin our fifth set. Again, what do you think are the keys for victory to get this gold medal for both teams?
You know, at this point in the fifth set, it is all about consistency. There is no room for errors here, even if they get a very big lead. Like we mentioned all throughout this game, it is important to keep that momentum going at every single point, especially when the set is only going up to 15 points. Those are very important 15 points. Every point is very important to this set.
Absolutely. So again, keeping the ball in play, limiting the errors are important keys. And it looks like Canada has changed up their libero for right now. So it was Renjo Joson and as the libero. Now we see another libero here in this fifth set for Canada. Again, a little bit of a delay here. Here to start this fifth set. As again, the West Coast and Canada are here in this fifth set. I believe Trevor was getting a new piece of tape. So again, that was the delay for this set here. Alex Martinez serving, jump float In-system pass goes to Tristan and finding the ball, finding the court over the top. Tristan de Mesa with the kill, and he has been hot the entire match since he came in.
Yes, absolutely. He did get blocked a few times in our last set, but they were able to execute and take that set.
Lex David to serve. Going out to the outside. Again, roll shot kept in control by the West. Going to the middle, tipped inside. Again, kept alive by Canada. Free ball opportunity for the West Coast. Tight pass, kept alive by Lex. Kept alive by Carl over there. And going to the right side, finding the court. Oh, kept alive. And just a bit outside. Patrick Klemenko choosing not to go for that ball. Now it is 1-1 here in this fifth set. Exciting stuff here at San Jose State University.
Absolutely, and now we're seeing them come together more as a team after every single point. Like what we said, it's very important. Every point is important, and it's very crucial to be consistent in this set.
Block slowed down. Easy free ball opportunity for the West, or for Canada, I'm sorry. And stopped by Trevor. And I believe Trevor Del Rosario and Carl De La Rosa have been going at it this entire match. And you know what? It is all in good competition.
Absolutely.
But Trevor comes out on top after that last play. The West leads 2-1 here in this final set. Trevor Del Rosario back to serve. Out of bounds play.
Was just a little
by
long.
Trevor Del Rosario. Now again, Edrel Hernandez back to serve. We are switching the middles. Bruno back in the front row. Again, the West Coast has 3 options, so watch for Tristan, I believe, in this play, coming in for an in-system. Tristan gets the set and gets the kill. No block was up. Angelo Bruno missed his blocking assignment, especially with a strong hitter like Tristan de Mesa. You cannot leave an open net.
Absolutely. And like what we mentioned earlier, it's very important to have that block, because if they get in that seam, it does make it very difficult for our defensive players to be able to pass.
All right, Tristan misses that serve after that kill. Now the game is back tied, 3-3. Float serve short, out of system. Opportunity for the West. Edriel with a swing, kept alive by Carl, goes back to the outside, offset. Carl takes a 15-foot swing, off the block, kept alive by the libero, outside set, back to Carl De La Rosa, and stopped by Gino Alivia, pumping the chest like he is LeBron James in the NBA Finals, but we are here in the finals of the Continental Unity Games.
Absolutely, but their pride is just as high. These teams have worked so hard to be here at this final championship game, and it is just an amazing, intense volleyball game.
Overpass, out of system opportunity for the Canada team. Dump, kept alive, and is under violation by Adrian Castillo. Point Canada, tying this game up 4-4. Now the rules are a little bit different in the center line. In international, you are not allowed to go, your hand or foot must not go over, but Adrian's hand completely crossed the net. In domestic USA volleyball, as long as there's no interference, under is okay. Free ball opportunity for Canada. Going out to the outside, Flamenco with the swing off the block, slowed down. Opportunity for the West Coast here. Double block, and cannot get the dig for Canada. Now it is 5-4 USA. Adrian Castillo back to serve, which gives Trevor Del Rosario back in the front row. Easy pass for Carl. Miscommunication by Canada. Again, it is very crucial that Canada cannot make these errors, especially in the 5th set. There are only 15 points to score.
Absolutely.
Or 15 points to give if you look at it that way too. Adrian gives that back. Canada, back serve. Adriel Hernandez coming in for the libero, while Angelo Bruno is to serve. In-system pass going to the outside. Trevor Del Rosario with the swing and diving dig, but not quite enough. West is up by 2. And if, again, just a reminder, the first team to reach 8 points, we will switch sides. In-system pass by Canada, going to the outside. Flamenco with the kill over the top. Canada down 6-7 with Alex Martinez back to serve. In-system pass going out to Trevor Del Rosario, and it is stuffed by Adriel Hernandez. And there are some crowd is getting into it.
Yes, absolutely. The energy in here is as high as it has been since that very first set. No one is getting tired. It is an amazing crowd in this gym today.
Trevor Del Rosario with another opportunity. Slowed down. Carl with the dig off the net. Kept alive by the libero. Opportunity for the West here to score. Goes out to Trevor one-on-one. And it is one-on-one solo block. Matt Florento with the solo block, shutting down Trevor Del Rosario. Trevor Del Rosario has to find a way to bounce back because they're in a rotation where it's only Tristan de Mesa and Trevor Del Rosario as their own option hitters. So finding a way for the West Coast to score is very important coming out of this side switch.
Absolutely. And you know, Kit, what we just witnessed there from the setter actually is he was very patient, waiting for that ball to roll down off the net. A lot of people actually will try to reach for that, and then, you know, it doesn't go where they expect it to. So that is a great trait to have as a setter, is to have that patience to be able to save that play and create an offensive play just like they did.
Kept alive. West Canada has an opportunity. Flamenco gets an inside set, just a bit outside. West Coast 8-8 here in this finals. Again, tensions are high, energy is high. Lex David back to serve for the West.
Yes, and they are battling neck to neck to get this gold medal from this championship.
Missed opportunity pass by the libero. He tried to hand set a ball from his knees, he mishandled it. Again, the ball is a little bit different, moves a little bit differently, so it's much harder, I believe, to hand set that ball. So again, 9-8 West Coast. Lex David still serving here. And Lex David misses that serve. Again, it is absolutely hard to keep your focus, especially when we are coming down to the wire. 9-9. Flamenco back to serve, which gives us Carl De La Rosa back in the front row. Let's see what happens. Easy opportunity for the Canada. Oh, outside set by Canada. Trevor Del Rosario back to serve. Again, the West offensive weapon is in the back row, while Canada's offensive weapon is in the front row. This should be interesting to watch. Trevor Del Rosario missing a last serve, but again missing the serve again. I wonder what's going through his mind again in this final stages of the men's finals.
Well, you know, I believe that they've got to be feeling the pressure. I know the crowd is feeling the pressure. They are getting louder and louder with every passing point. So I'm sure they are feeling the pressure, and hopefully they can continue to play their game.
Lex David with 3 options in system. Ed goes out to Adrian and finds the court. Adrian Castillo just looks like he's having a blast out there, and that's what it's all about in these Continental Unity games.
Absolutely. You know, despite the competition and the intensity of these games, it's still all about the fun that they're having, and that's exactly what we're seeing here today.
Canada with 3 option pass. De Mesa with the float serve. A shank pass kept alive by Canada. Free ball opportunity for the West. Goes to the outside. Back to Edrin. The hot hand. Easy pass by Canada. Goes out to the outside. De La Rosa dug up by De Mesa. Going back to the right side. Free ball opportunity tip. Kept alive by De Mesa. Going back to the right side. Going to Carl again. Block covered. Going back out to Carl. And off the block, keeping Canada's hopes and dreams alive for raising that gold medal. 11-11, make a wish, and it looks like their libero is down.
It looks like they switched back to the original libero, but he does look like he's down. He is just was escorted off the court to tender to that injury, and now we have a new libero, number 18.
Franz Morales is our libero. Again, in the FIVB, you are allowed 2 liberos. Gino Alavia covers himself, goes back to Adrian. Adrian finds the court. Adrian Castillo taking a bow for the fans, thanking everybody for being here today and watching him get his kill.
Yes, absolutely.
12-11, West Coast leads, and we have our time out by Canada, and it is electric here in the gym.
Yes, absolutely. And like I was saying earlier, the crowd is getting louder and louder and louder with every point that they are scoring. They are battling neck to neck in this men's volleyball championship here at the INC Continental Unity Games. The score is 12-11 with the West in lead, and it is just an amazing game to watch. It's so exciting, and it's a very intense game.
So what do you think Canada needs to do in order for them to bounce back right now to get their 12th point?
You know, they really need to focus on their defense and making sure that they're not making any errors that are untimely. Like they said, they wanted to focus on, they need to limit their errors, and at this point in the game, that is something they really absolutely have to focus on.
All right, Dan Red back here, back to serve. It is a float serve. Again, in-system pass going out to Carl De La Rosa. Over the block, shanked by Trevor. 12-12. Canada ties it up 12-12. What an attack by Carl De La Rosa, showing ice in his veins, knowing that, hey, the pressure doesn't get to me. Carl De La Rosa now in the back row, back there serving. With a jump float, kept in system by Gino. Going back to Ed, the hot hand, dug up, in system, Flamenco, outside set, no block! Canada took the lead, 13-12. Head coach Kevin Moranan does not like what he saw, so he slows the game down by calling a timeout.
Yes, and that was an excellent hit that we just saw from number 3, Patrick Flamenco from the Canada team.
It is super important. As
They're telling their team in that huddle right now.
They're saying, you know what, guys? We need to go back to the game plan. Ball control is our key. Get a huge defense. Let's make sure we terminate on this first ball.
Absolutely, and the crowd is on their feet, cheering on these teams. It is an amazing crowd in this gym.
Carl De La Rosa back to serve, 13-12. Canada up by 1. West Coast has 3 options here. In-system pass by Bakir. Adrian dug up by Carl, and mishandled. Oh, block, net violation by Gino Alivia. Not choosing to call a timeout, and Canada has match point Such an interesting play that was, because that was such a good dig. Adrian made a play on it, but unfortunately had touched the net as he was going for that dig.
Absolutely.
You cannot touch the net between the antennas. Now Carl De La Rosa serving for the match here at the Continental Unity Games. Out of system pass goes to Gino Alavia. Tip. Chance goes to Canada. Dump. Blocked by Gino. Goes back to the outside. Flamenco with the swing. And a kill. And that is game. Canada is for Unity Games champions here at the INC Unity Games Continental.
Yes, the crowd is going wild. They have stormed the court. It is an amazing time here at this volleyball championship. Make sure you guys all stay tuned for more live updates here on Eagle News Live, especially for the closing ceremonies of these games. I am Julianne Docena.
And I'm Kit Magluno, and stay tuned for the basketball finals here on Eagle News Live.
Thank you all for watching.
Sick, dude.
You did it! You did it! You did it!
Bro, we're gonna do this more often.
We're here